Great to have you all joining us for this session. So today we have John L, John K over there, as well as Casper. So John L moved to Mexico City after graduation. He had played a key role in the early stage of fintech startups from year 2011 to 2015. Oh, that was the time when fintech startup was relatively young. And John has been play an active role in all aspects of business from IT to finance. John spent time with the innovative finance and program-related investments division at the Rockefeller Foundation. Currently, John is the managing director of IOTA Ecosystem Development Fund, where he provides the financial support to developers, entrepreneurs, and others with projects focused on IOTA core technology. John holds 3 degrees, very amazing, from engineering to economics and international finance. So on the right-hand side, we have John K. 2 Johns here. Mm-hmm. So John K has 25 years of experience, international experience in the Asia high technology industry, specialized in next generation software solutions to address the needs of organizations throughout the key markets across the Asia Pacific. Prior to Sentinel Protocol, John held senior roles with several leading technology companies, including WatchGuard Technology, SoftBank. SoftBank is really big in Japan, CyberGuard, and Darktrace. John has a degree from Duke University and studied computer science in UC Berkeley. Last but not least, we have Casper here on the left-hand side. He's the leader of technology and focus a lot on how to turn all the technology into the vision of WePower into reality. So he is the former CTO of this name I might not get it right because I'm not Estonian. Can you help me? Electric. Casper worked on green energy, smart grids, and also control system for the past 10 years. Amazing. He ran the development and execution of DSO, strategic plan, and their smart grid technology roadmap, as well as the overall info technology and operation technology enterprise architecture. Very amazing. Welcome all these 3 panelists here. So to start off, John L. will share with us what does IOTA Foundation do?
Yes. So I'll give a little bit of background and also what is distributed ledger technology, why is this space interesting? So like she said, I'm John Luttradello, I'm managing director at the IOTA Foundation. And I thought because of the audience in this room with a lot of military, I thought a good place to start would be let's recap a little bit the history of the internet. So the internet started with ARPANET, right, back in the 1960s, and it was really a development that was grounded in the Cold War, right? There's a lot of fear about a Soviet Union nuclear attack, and the researchers realized that they needed to create a network where there was no single point of failure, right? Where there was no central node, where there was no place where they could attack and bring down the whole thing. And what we got many years later is the internet, and it works pretty well, right? It's decentralized. There is no single master node. There is no somebody in control. It's completely permissionless. Anybody can connect to it, and it's brought a lot of trouble and also a lot of innovation, and it's why we are all here today. But really, the internet is the Cold War's baby. So before we had telecommunications, everything was centralized, right? There was a single point of truth, a single point of access to that truth, and a single point of failure. With telecommunications, we got to be distributed. Now, there's multiple accesses to points of truth, and there's still a single source of truth and a single point of failure. Then we got to decentralize, where there's no single point of truth, it's decentralized, and there's no single point of failure. But with the internet, what we got was a decentralized communications protocol. We did not get a decentralized consensus protocol. So we can talk to each other in a decentralized fashion, but we can't agree on anything, right? Not until blockchain. That was the main innovation of blockchain, was now we have a decentralized consensus. We can agree on something as critical as a ledger of money, for example. example. But really, the ledger can be arbitrary. It can be any arbitrary data set. So before blockchain, we had decentralized communications, distributed consensus, but not decentralized. Now we have decentralized consensus and decentralized communications. So obviously, you guys are all familiar with blockchain. IOTA actually has a different type of architecture known as a directed acyclic graph, where every transaction references 2 previous transactions. So I'm not going to get too deep into the technicals here because it could take hours. But basically, the idea for IOTA is that we're trying to enable the Internet of Things and machine economy. And because of blockchain's architecture, it's a bit slow and a bit costly and not very suitable for many use cases. So the reason for this is basically the way it comes to consensus. It's actually by design. It forces everything through a bottleneck, and the fees incentivize the miners to maintain the ledger. So in IOTA, we said, well, why do we need a chain? Why can't we just open it up, right? No more bottleneck. It introduces other complications because that's not trivial now either. One question, of course, would be, well, where do you attach, right? When it's a chain, it's pretty obvious. You always go to the end of the line. Here, it's not quite as obvious anymore. But again, that's for the mathematicians to figure out. But the big important point is that without the blockchain and the miners, there's now no fees, all right? So every transaction proves 2 previous transactions. In a sense, you're in control of your own destiny. And now we can enable micropayments. And this is critical for an IoT future. So I'm going to play a video for you that does a much better job than I could ever do, explaining the vision and the future of what an IoT world could look like.
In tomorrow's world, we'll all drive electric cars. And by using solar panels and windmills, we'll generate our own renewable energy. With smart charging, we'll make sure we use 100% of what we generate. This means that all kinds of devices have to start communicating with each other, and there'll be a need to make or receive payments for their services. That may sound complicated, but in practice, people won't even notice the devices are at work. Let's say you work from home today. Your electric car is parked outside and is charged by the overcapacity from the solar panels on the nearby school. In the evening, the energy stored in your car will now power the lights in your house. And together with other nearby cars, you might even be providing the power for a concert in the local park. Throughout the night, windmills located just outside the city will refill the car batteries. So in the morning, you leave for work fully charged on renewable energy. To successfully automate this whole process, both data and value transactions have to be calculated for every exchange between these devices. In the future, these will increase exponentially. The old approach of registering every electricity exchange centrally and then paying through the bank afterwards is not particularly appropriate for these kinds of microtransactions. Luckily, there's a new kid on the block: cryptocurrencies. These are way more suitable thanks to the underlying distributed ledger technology, or more simply, DLT. It is secure, transparent, and peer-to-peer, and supports both data and value transactions. The best-known DLT application is the Bitcoin, but because of limitations in its technology, it's not really suitable either. But hang on, recently, better alternatives have become available. One of them, IOTA, makes use of the Tangle, a new kind of technology, which is ideal for these microtransactions. It is fast and costs close to nothing because the users validate all the transactions themselves. It's an ideal, decentralized approach. To explore this possibility, we've built an IOTA charging station prototype, where you can use IOTA to pay and charge. No need for a card or subscription. When connecting cars, solar panels and windmills to the IOTA network, all these devices will be able to sort out the transactions and their related payments themselves. It's easy, safe and reliable. Exactly what we need to live in tomorrow's smart charging world. Join us in further exploring these exciting opportunities. Let's co-create. ALAD NL researches and tests the possibilities for smart charging on behalf of the Dutch grid operators.
I love the way that video ends, let's co-create, because what's amazing about these permissionless, distributed, decentralized technologies is that you don't have to ask permission for us to build something like that. They did this completely themselves. They didn't even let us know. We only found out about it after the fact. And they made this incredible promotional video that's kind of like promotes our technology for us. It's incredible. But they literally just found out about the IOTA technology. They said this could be used in a real-world problem that they are trying to solve today. And they went ahead and tried to experiment with it. So you can see in the future, this is a world that you could imagine, where literally everybody is both a producer and a consumer of electricity, of data, of parking spots, of lane space, of airspace, right? Everything is a scarce resource and an asset, and this data and value needs to be transacted with one another. It will not be able to go to a centralized cloud database to be able to sort out all these transactions. They need to be able to be sorted out in a decentralized way. It's just not possible. There's not enough bandwidth. There's just too many devices. The predictions are saying by 2025, there's going to be something like 75 billion internet-enabled devices. We're not going to be able to go ask the bank to settle up every single microtransaction. It just won't scale. So that's the vision behind IOTA. And to finish it off, I will show you the prototype that they actually built.
We are at the ELAD premises in Arnhem, and we are now at the test lab of ELAD, which is used for testing charge stations and electric vehicles. This is the world's first IOTA charging station being released today here in Arnhem. What's special about this charge station is that it can do direct payments from car to charger using just a cable, and it doesn't require any RFID card or any subscription. It just uses IOTA. IOTA is a cryptocurrency and a protocol. The cryptocurrency you can think of as it is used in Bitcoin, for example. And the protocol is much broader, so you can also use it for data transportation, data integrity, and data security. Bitcoin is, in this case, not suitable because it requires a lot of fees to do a transaction, and IOTA is free of charge, so that makes it great for using it in these kind of use cases. And the most unique part here is that you can have real machine-to-machine communication. A car with its own wallet and the charger with its own wallet, and they do a direct communication and payment to each other fully autonomously. So you just plug in the car and it works. The importance of this charge station is to show that you can use cryptocurrencies and the underlying distributed ledgers to do things like this and to show the capabilities of these technologies and the potential. And the way we envision this is that you also can directly, for example, buy energy from a solar panel from your neighbor. Or in case of some kind of congestion, the charger can ask the car to deliver energy back to the grid and pay for that using IOTA. Of course, we cannot do this on our own. We need others to bring this further, so we would like to invite you to co-create and work with us together to bring this further.
So the Internet of Everything, it's a lot closer than you think.
Thank you, John L. So previously in the video, we talked about energy. So we'd like to invite Casper from WePower up to share about WePower.
Thank you. Kind of felt bad being right in the middle of that.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
So that was a very interesting intro. So I'm going to zoom out a bit from that. I think that the trouble with this whole topic is that in order to properly do it justice, it actually requires to go in depth to the economic side of it and also the technologies that surround the ledger aspect. So if we look at the video about the cars, for example, then the vision, to realize the vision, it actually requires a lot more than just a ledger. And WePower is one of these companies who is actually trying to build around the ledger to move us closer to realizing these visions in a practical way. I guess one other thing that I would like to point out for intro is that when we look at these different types of visions from different companies, which you can find a lot of, and there is, I think, many competing ledgers actually at this point who are trying to compete for the next ledger after Bitcoin. Then the trouble with infrastructure and many of these things target infrastructure, is that in the end, all of these systems will have to function as one integrated whole. So I mean, the smart city as itself in the end will be one system. And how, let's say, two different charging infrastructures with two different ledgers get chosen, interoperated, and this kind of thing are usually the questions which are much more tricky than just the question of the ledger. So I guess from a wider point of view, energy as a whole is actually part of a rapid change. And we have been, so first of all, I mean, renewables today are getting more investment than all traditional sources. So every year, more renewables are getting built today than traditional sources. So this kind of block, which was talked about for a year, that renewables still have a block in developing the world. So this block is gone. In many markets, this is gone now. There are countries and markets in the world today where subsidies are coming off now, and they're just market compatible. And second, there is a decentralization aspect to this due to the fact that the resource, energy, is now a plot of land, and what you need to tap that resource is capital cost, and that capital cost is determined by technology and grid connection to the energy system. So if you just take the property plots and ownerships around energy grids, then what you see immediately is the traditional way of doing energy, which is large plants, is impossible due to the distribution of property. So in Germany, for example, of the new energy, of the renewable energy, only 5% is owned by old energy giants. So a third of it is owned by farmers who own the land, and another third by citizens who own the roofs. So there's a democracy aspect to this change which can't be overlooked. So Germany can't go back on its renewable laws anymore because their energy system is effectively owned now by a large chunk of voters. So all of this is going on, and what we realized in WePower actually is that while all the focus goes on this technology aspect and building of it, then the surrounding financing mechanisms and regulation mechanisms and integrating these together has not advanced as much. And actually, financing these small generators, if you want to finance, let's say, a megawatt or two, is still done by the same methods as you finance a 100 megawatt plant. So you go to a bank and you try to get a loan, and you get some government approval, et cetera. So I guess this is the preamble. I'm going to run through very quick what WePower does. So what we do is we digitalize the energy metering data itself. Therefore, the data that is the underlying for settling financial transactions in energy. We connect the energy producers, buyers, investors, traders, and we standardize the purchase of energy investments in the energy sector. So essentially what we allow is a pre-sale of energy via smart contracts. So pre-sale, currently you can also pre-buy energy, but in order to do that, you need to be a big corporate person and sign a contract to pre-buy energy for, let's say, 20 years with a fixed price. So what the smart contracts allows it to do is that now any person can pre-buy it on an hourly basis. And what this effectively does is that while today the future of the energy sector is still thought about as a governmental regulatory problem, then consumers actually have very little choice in their wallets what is being built, what types of resources are getting built. So this is a way to bring a lot of that large-scale complexity in the energy sector down to a usable, manageable level, and using a ledger underneath to facilitate the transaction between the end consumer and the green renewable energy plant. And also in many countries today, green energy is priced as a premium product. We think that's quite silly. So you should be able to buy at a price. You shouldn't have an aggregate layer between pricing is saying a green energy is a premium product and a normal product is coal. Like, why? There's no market logic to that. That's an aggregate layer. And then the secondary marketplace provides the liquidity. So this is essentially if blockchain and ledgers today have one track record of doing something well, it is raising funds and doing marketing. So essentially, we tap into the same proven aspect of it, is that this energy pre-bought is then stored in a tokenized form, which can then be traded, and hence has liquidity and can attract more capital to the renewable energy. And this is different than the traditional market instruments. So this, you can only be looked at that the instruments around renewable energy today are centralized a lot, like the way we do regulation, the way we do financing. And what distributed ledgers allow us to do is to do a distributed market that's liquid, that has a standardized view of doing contracts, that doesn't need extra set of lawyers every time we want to pre-buy energy. And the energy sources can be transparent, and that's a byproduct. So you can actually know where and from who you bought it. And investors and traders can have global access. So meaning if I'm an Estonian, there's little sun here, and I want to invest into Spain perhaps, why don't I just invest there where it's, it already makes sense. We're headquartered in Lithuania. In Estonia, we do all our technical development, but the markets we operate are in Spain and Australia. So there is the places where the subsidies are off, the markets are active, and that's where these kind of concepts make sense today. And of course, these are the places with smart metering, which is a critical underlying infrastructure to that.
Thank you so much, Casper. Next, we have John Kay from Sentinel Protocol. It basically is a crowdsourced threat intelligence platform to protect you against hacks, scams, and frauds.
Great. I'd like to start out today by saying thank you to CCDCOE, to Reich, his team, and all of you for taking the time to come to our session today. My name is John Kirk. I'm the Chief Evangelist for Sentinel Protocol. Today, I'm going to be speaking about crowdsourced threat intelligence for blockchain cybersecurity. That's a lot of words, but I'll explain what I mean by all that in just a minute. Hang on. As you all know, there have been a series of cyber attacks that have been going on. It seems like almost every day, but it's every week, every month. A continual stream of incidents that's causing harm and robbing people of their investments. And many people think that, well, because of that, blockchain is insecure. I'm here to tell you that's wrong. Blockchain is very, very secure. It has never been hacked to my knowledge. The problem is the underlying systems, the DApps, decentralized applications, and the other connected applications to the blockchain are run by people and organizations, and they, by definition, make mistakes. And so we have vulnerabilities, and we have weaknesses there that need to be addressed. And that's what me and my team are working on. So there have been attacks on wallets, on exchanges, on smart contracts, on web applications, on network nodes, on DNS engines. And it has caused over $2 billion worth of robbing or stealing of crypto coins in US dollars to date. And we think that something needs to be done about this. And that's why I'm here today. If we look at the blockchain and we think about investors, there are three key problems that are going on that I'd like to highlight. The first one is, unfortunately, all of us are easily vulnerable to scams, hacks, phishing, and malware. And then, secondly, although we are very, very easily seen or picked out by the hacker as potential targets, unfortunately, it's very difficult for us to see and detect him. He has the advantage. But in addition to that, there's other problems. And the problem is that basically, if we are hacked, what are we going to do about it? Who's going to help me? I mean, basically, it's a wild, wild west and every man for himself. And if you don't have the means and capabilities of taking care of yourself, well, you're out of luck. Now, I would like to add one other thing here before I go on, just to give you an example and to really highlight that, is that our CEO, Patrick Kim, who is a cybersecurity expert, was hacked of 72,218 Ethereum in May 2016, and it was equivalent to $70,000 then. And I'll tell you, right now, it's a lot more money than that. And from his angst and as his pain of that problem, that's where he got the inspiration while he was in Uppsala, Sweden, to develop our company. So without that, I wouldn't be here today. Now, when the internet came to be, as was discussed earlier, it came to be with this idea of end-user empowerment and decentralization without any central governing body. So this is very key, but also, if we look at our world in terms of blockchain, this idea is even stronger than here in blockchain. It's all decentralization. That's the philosophy. And so this is very key. If we are working with distributed trust, if we have no main body that will take care of cybersecurity issues, when I get hacked, who do I turn to? Who's going to help me? Lawyers? No. Police? FBI? Government? Good luck. And this is the problem that we're looking to address. Somebody needs to do something about that. So I'm here to say that blockchain is a solution. Blockchain has incredible characteristics and potential. It has immutability. It has decentralization. And if we leverage that technology, we can securely deliver security intelligence to individuals and organizations in an immutable manner that they can use to protect themselves. We can give those people a means to address the problem, to enable cybersecurity in a proactive manner so that they can defend their assets. And I think this is very important. So Sentinel Protocol. We are the first crowdsourced threat intelligence platform built on the blockchain using contributions from people, ordinary people, security experts, organizations, vendors, and advanced technologies like AI to enable us to provide protection to people so they can protect their valuable crypto assets. We take information about scams, hacks, and fraud, and we utilize that to enhance our capability to protect crypto assets. We put that into our threat reputation database, and then we share via APIs the collective intelligence to companies and organizations like crypto exchanges, crypto payment systems, wallets, and other companies so that they can protect themselves against these different types of crypto attacks. Now, let's take it a step further. You're probably saying, well, what's in your database? Well, let me tell you. In our database, we have information about dangerous wallets that have been validated, dangerous URLs, dangerous URIs, phishing sites, command control sites. And it's linked by APIs to different types of endpoints. And therefore, that system is platform agnostic. And in addition, we provide a system that will enable people, if they are hackers, they'll find it very difficult to move their stolen bitcoins around and monetize them. But on the other hand, what we will do is we will add and provide very attractive rewards to people that contribute to our system that they can use to monetize or to trade into other cryptocurrencies, but they will receive very, very attractive rewards in consideration for their contribution to our ecosystem. So our decentralized threat reputation database can serve as a depository of collective intelligence that can be used to protect valuable crypto assets against scams, hacks, and fraud. And we can link to these different APIs, and by doing that, we can leverage the blockchain system to provide various advantages. Those advantages include operational resilience. That means no single point of failure. Data integrity because of immutability of the blockchain. Traceability of the assets. Let's say somebody took my money today, $200, and I went to the policeman and I said, please, find my stolen money. Here's their numbers off the dollar bills. Could he trace it? The answer is no. So what I'm trying to point out with that simple little example is that there are distinct advantages that are available by using blockchain technology. Our system here, our threat reputation database, think about it in terms of this. When you have a credit card and you report it that it's been stolen to the credit card company, they can put a stop on that credit card. But with stolen Bitcoins, that's not possible. Because somebody can, what they can do is they can hide their ID on the exchange, and they can trade stolen Bitcoins. But if we can use our technology, Sentinel Protocol, we can trace that. We can make it so that we can trace where those stolen Bitcoins go. And we can trace it by using the original transaction address, as well as sub-addresses. So therefore, it becomes very costly for that bad actor to move the money around and monetize it. In fact, we'll take our list of stolen Bitcoins and we'll give it to every leading exchange in the world, and that will further complicate the problem for the bad actor. And so by doing this, we move forward to address the problem. And we use the advantages of the blockchain, its decentralized capabilities, to address the problem. We have an ecosystem of sentinels. These are the security experts that contribute the information to our decentralized database. These are people located around the world. They're experts, they're organizations, but they're contributing information, and in return for their contribution, we give them Sentinel points. And those Sentinel points can be converted to OOP. What is OOP? Well, OOP is our circulating utility token. And that token can be used to license our advanced technologies, but it can be also utilized to license our consulting services, or as an online payment device for online charges, kind of like gas with Ethereum. So yesterday, Dr. Antonio Miseroli, NATO's Assistant Secretary General for Emerging Security Challenges, said, cybersecurity is a team sport. And we fully agree with that. And the Sentinels are oriented in that fashion. In addition, we have here our Sentinel portal, where when you get hacked, you can go there and you can talk to our security experts. You can liaison and explore the problem with them. You can analyze data. But this is the go-to site for people that have a problem. And therefore, at this site, people can do community voting. They can upvote the work done by our Sentinels. And we're using reputation both from our internal system as well as from KYC and AML. AML stands for anti-money laundering, and KYC is know your customer. So basically, we're providing an ecosystem that will help people to address the problem in terms of the Sentinels and working to track and protect their stolen Bitcoins. The Sentinels are very busy in terms of analyzing and tracking attacks, validating attacks. They are working to trace attacks down to the root causes and to update our database. Then we have also our security wallet, and that is used for filtering of malware and scams. But in addition, there's options for machine learning and also for sandboxing. So we use distributed technologies to do different types of multi-vector analysis to ensure a more comprehensive product solution for the end user. Our business model up here, it's largely free of charge, except for licensing the advanced technologies. Consulting services we will provide as well, and when the security experts provide it, 90% of the revenue in terms of that would go to them and 10% to us. So this is a system that's very, very easy to use. The APIs are free of charge in terms of linking that to a system. Our commercial product comes out next month in June, our mainnet version in July, and then at the end of the year, in November and December, we're coming out with our machine learning system, our distributed sandboxing system, and then next year, our fraud detection system. That will be in 2019. We have a great set of partners all over the world in both technologies as well as investment funds, asset management companies, and so forth. So, you know, there's a song at Woodstock, and it was by Joe Cocker. And the name of the song was "With a Little Help from My Friends." And so I'd like to invite all of you to join the Sentinels. Join us, work with us to help us create disruptive, positive change in the world that is needed as soon as possible. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John. Oops. We see ourselves using your platform for Crypto Protect, so I'll share more about Crypto Protect insurance.
Now, please, and if you need some assistance, let me know. We have our colleagues in Singapore.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. Just the last presentation before we move on to panel discussion. So Policy Power is a decentralized insurance protocol. We have two products. One is called Crypto Protect. The other one is the protocol. So before I talk about Policy Power Network, we just run through the numbers that we see here from the blockchain startups analysis that our team has done. So last year itself, on the token sale, 1.3 billion have been raised. And 1 out of 5 startups are actually blockchain related. Many of them actually spin off from being a technology company to become a blockchain company. And 90% of the governments actually plan to incorporate blockchain into their routines in some way in 2018. So these are some of the government initiatives that you can see from Singapore all the way to Europe, US, China, and the UN. So Singapore has a Project Ubin. So I'm from Singapore. So Project Ubin used blockchain technology to issue and transfer funds internally between the Singaporean banks, platform to investigate how can blockchain be used within the NTPS. So MAS stands for our Singapore regulator. So I'll move on to talk more about Policy Power. So the company started 2 years ago, based out of my own personal experience dealing with insurance policy. It was a nightmare for my family. First one was my mom's insurance policy. She went through 2 operations after she recovered from her cancer. Unfortunately, we couldn't receive any claims payment because the insurance company said the premiums payment was late once. We let the matter rest. Unfortunately, within the same year, I have to deal with insurance policy again because my dad passed away due to heart attack. Then again, we have to go down to different insurance company one by one, check whether he had any policy there because we didn't sort out all these things on the way, or like it was really unexpected. So through those experiences, I realized that insurance actually touches everyone's life, but no one actually deals with it until something bad happens. On top of that, the whole industry is huge, traditional. So I started it just to help people to manage the insurance policy. And over time, as our user base grew, people started asking whether they can buy any insurance policies there. To do that, we have to get our own insurance broker license. So as a really young startup, I myself started from my own savings. I worked a couple of years, but I couldn't meet the high payout capital. So we went into MAS FinTech Sandbox. So it's a Singapore regulatory FinTech Sandbox. 6 months trial period with a given KPI, key performance indicator, how we manage the risk, how we actually distribute the policies, advise the customers on what type of policies to buy. We've gotten our insurance broker license, and today we work with more than 20 insurance companies. From there, the experience of working with both the insurance companies and also the customers, we realized the problems as well. The problems is not only just bring the policies online for people to compare prices, not only just to help them to manage policies, how else we can help them is to reduce the insurance premiums, because every time there's any fraudulent claims, insurance premiums keep increasing year after year. On top of that, the claims process is a very manual process. You have to go through insurance agents, submit the paperwork, back and forth. Sometimes it takes months for you to get a claim. So Policy Pal Singapore started 2 years back, and since our license last September, we've gotten more than 50,000 customers there. And some of the selected awards from Japan, China, Hong Kong, and also we're one of the 3 startups in the Google Asia Pacific program. So this is us when we graduated out of the sandbox. We're proud of it because Singapore regulator have a really stringent criteria on which startup to enter the sandbox period, because they want the technology to be innovative and novel. Ideally, it actually benefits the public. So after getting license based in Singapore, we have the opportunity to meet many blockchain companies and also knowing more about crypto exchanges. We see a lot of challenges there. So I think previously John has shared about all the exchanges having hacks, wallets, people losing the money. So what are problems we're trying to solve? We see in Japan, Bitflyer actually got an insurance for the exchange. However, many other crypto wallets and exchanges do not have insurance protection. And we want to bring the peace of mind assurance to the whole growing crypto community. So we introduced insurance for token wallet. So basically, today we work with Quantum. They have a wallet for anyone who owns Quantum tokens. So we insure it by looking into the technical details. So maybe now we might work together with Centennial Protocol. Looking into any potential hack and also insuring up to X amount of fiat currency. So we titled the fiat currency because it's very challenging for any insurance companies to accept like the fluctuation of cryptocurrency today. So the next product that we're working on is smart contract insurance. Basically, we see a lot of token sales smart contract, business operations smart contract. So we ourselves have done a token sale in March this year. Remember, the team was really worried about what's going to happen when millions of dollars being sent in, and then we have to issue PAL tokens out. What happens if the code, there's some error, there's any DAO hack that people can actually take advantage of? So we decided to actually roll this out. So we announced our partnership with NAM. So any NAM projects are able to get insurance on top of like their business operations smart contract, and also for at the moment not token sales smart contract yet. Yeah. The third one is token exchanges, because we see a lot of token somehow being lost on exchanges because of cyber hacks. So we're working with, speaking with a few exchanges to come out with that for them. So I will touch on the second product that we're building, Decentralized Insurance Protocol. Basically, the existing insurance business that we have in Singapore, we bring it onto this blockchain platform. So we put in the business business logic on the smart contract, on the pre-programmed conditions such as like, oh, what's the age, what's the parameters, how can we automate the claim, automate the policy inception. Thereafter, we automate the claims process by connecting with third-party data source. So today, we just make our announcement that we partner with ERGO Insurance. ERGO is a 100% subsidiary from Munich Re, the largest reinsurance company in the world. So we partner with them to automate your travel insurance claims. So if, let's say, you were to buy any policy from Policy Pal, moving forward, you never have to submit any insurance claim again for any flight delays. So, of course, it takes time. We move stage by stage. It's not going to automate every claim at the moment. But we do believe that we take baby steps down the road. We are able to get more data information by partnering with other data companies, or maybe IOTA to get some data to automate the claims process. So here are some of the key benefits of decentralized insurance protocol. As I mentioned earlier, in automated claims. On top of that, we are able to introduce new type of insurance products, which is peer-to-peer insurance, and also can solve all the micro insurance challenges that normally insurance agents will not want to deal with that because the cost is really low. They don't make much money, but we are able to automate the process to actually offer it to the mass. So this is how it works in the protocol that we're building. We have a token, we have issue tokens, so we do have the token holders to suggest insurance products. They can actually launch the peer-to-peer virtual pool. On top of that, they can market the insurance products to their peers. And then we will be launching the technical details is a super node so that they are able to validate transactions on all the policies. And our insurance partners here, like AXA, ERGO, and Forward Insurance Company, they will run the master nodes to be able to verify policies, transactions, and claims. On top of that, they have a dashboard to be able to browse the products that they are able to underwrite. So this really changes the whole picture, because currently traditional insurance companies receive all this information from their brokers, and brokers choose what information to be shared with them. So here are some of the opportunities for our partners, why they want to work with us, because a lot of people say that, why do insurance company want to work with you? Because you're basically trying to bring things to be much more transparent. So first of all is to tailor products and premiums for the customer needs. They spare the customers from back and forth communications for any claims verification. On top of that, we help them to cut costs down the road. It takes time to be able to cut the costs for the claims process, because currently they feel that they don't feel assured when information is just validated by a third party, like trusted information. Sometimes they want to look at it again because they have been doing it for decades. On top of that is increasing the transparency so that they are able to get information into their claims and also policy details. So we're focusing in Asia as a start, but of course the whole protocol is available worldwide. So we have received some inquiries from companies from Europe as well to be able to use the protocol to automate the policy inception and claims. So this is one case study. So first of all, we work with ERGO for the travel. Their customers are able to download the app, buy the policies, and then track the claims process from there. The second one, we work together with Forward Insurance Company. Forward Insurance Company started from Hong Kong. They are all around Asia. It's a company started by Richard Lee, the son of Li Ka-shing. So they are driving quite a bit in terms of the digital space for insurance penetration. So they are our really good partner. So I'll just run through how does it really work. Is that you are able to form the mutual aid pool and then suggest products, and you pay either by PAL tokens or fiat currency. You can refer your friends to join the virtual pool and earn bonus tokens from there. So these days, when you travel as a group, you suggest your friends to buy travel policies. You never earn from that. On top of that, you will not be actively promoting like this particular travel insurance. So with this, you are able to earn some bonus tokens. The insurance product itself is backed by an insurance company, because we had done some research that a lot of people still feel that there's a need to buy from a trusted brand. And then we have this pooling system. Why? Because this one can allow people to actually get some cashback on top of that, reducing the fraudulent claims. Because this way, people will not be filing the claims just because they feel like, oh, maybe my luggage is slightly broken, I want to submit it for the claim, to be able to get something back after a 1-year insurance policy. Yeah, so they're able to get the cashback, and our roadmap ahead. So we're launching our testnet next month, and then our mainnet, which is the live product, will go live in Q3. And we will be sharing more details on our blockchain and the masternode end of the year. And that's all from me. So I see that there's a lot of interest in terms of like cryptocurrency. How can you actually get assets? Well, I do hope that like companies like us can bring assurance in terms of the audit or like the details that you get, and also like insurance. I'll move on to the panel. So just let me. Okay, before I start the panel, can I know a bit more about the audience? So who have actually worked on blockchain projects here? Okay, about 30%. So who invested in token sale? Oh, okay, a couple of you. So you all know. Yeah. So who actually used token in real life scenario before? Few days ago, I read the news about people paying their pizza using Bitcoin many years back, and they regretted because the pizza cost $15,000 now. And then who actively involved in this space? Okay. Seems like we have a pretty diverse crowd. The one interested are sitting in front. Okay, I'll start off with a question to all of the panelists. So why do you all build your project on the blockchain technology, and why not on a simple database?
Yeah, so I can start with, IOTA is itself a protocol. IOTA envisions itself to be kind of like a base layer protocol for the Internet of Things. You can think of it like HTTP is the protocol for the World Wide Web. IOTA will be the protocol for the Internet of Things. The reason a database simply won't work is because in a world of billions of devices, they can't all talk to the same database, unfortunately. There's bandwidth limitations, but there's also commercial interests and political limitations, right? Not all the device producers are going to want to use the same database for obvious reasons. And in this world where there's millions and billions of devices trying to share bandwidth, computational resources, memory, and then actual physical things like like airspace or car space. Data is also valuable. You're going to need a way where you can settle these transactions at a micro level and in a decentralized fashion amongst themselves. So machines can actually become essentially autonomous economic entities with their own wallets, pay for their own services, generate their own revenues and income, hold their own assets.
Thank you. How about you, John?
Sure, I'll try to answer that question as well. I think it's a comparative issue. And I look at it, if we look at other business systems, what is the biggest cost element in terms of doing business? And I think one of the biggest cost elements is trust, establishing trust between two parties. It costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of time to really establish trust. And that's what holds people back from doing business with new people, because there's no trust. And then, so today, how do we address that? Well, we have intermediaries. We have banks. We have other insurance companies, too. We have other organizations that are providing us with services that basically represent their manufacturer, for instance, or manufacturer's rep. And we go through that company because we trust them. We trust they will treat us right with integrity. And I so think one of the major things that the blockchain brings is distributed trust. It decreases the cost of trust. It allows me to do business in a way that is fast, that costs less money, and I can feel that my interests are not going to be violated. And I think that is a great help because it helps me to improve productivity, speed, and grow my business with fewer resources. And then there's a whole bunch of other things that are also really important too, like data immutability, decentralization, speed, if you will, being able to bring the cost element down, accounting, traceability, security. I mean, the core blockchain, as I said before, is immutable. I mean, it's never been traced. I mean, it's never been hacked. Consensus mechanisms. The consensus mechanism is very important because that ensures that what goes onto the blockchain is true and correct. And so that would be my second biggest one. And then after that, I might say things such as accounting, and then the supply chain element, such as different products, and being able to look back. If there's a product that is not any good, it's defective, well, I can trace back through the blockchain where that product came from. And many times in the conventional systems, it's a little bit more problematic. But for me, the biggest one is trust.
Okay. You have something to add?
I would have a question. I would have a question for all of you. We have heard from Thomas Doyen this morning that actually simplicity is very important in cybersecurity. And Bush and I agreed with him that we are adding like a weird cocktail of firmware and software, and it actually causes a lot of problems to our security issues, or it causes security issues. So isn't if we use blockchain, aren't we introducing a new system which might be exploitable in the end, or well, John, you said like it's never been hacked, but if I have a control of 1/3 of the network points, or like 1/5, wouldn't I be able to manipulate the ledger and therefore all of your transactions and data?
Ray, thank you very much for the good question. You know, if that was possible, it would have occurred by now, quite frankly, I think. And if you look at the probability of that occurring, it's very, very low. And I think that's the reason why people move forward to invest in blockchain, because they know that the probability of what you described is infinitesimally small. Now, in addition to that, though, the blockchain does bring other advantages, like no single point of failure. How many systems out there in the world today, conventional systems, have no single point of failure? Or data immutability? So it's very simple to get these things that are very exotic in today's conventional world while bringing down cost. And having systems that are compared to what we have today. You know, we all remember the Lehman shock and what happened there. And we also remember other types of hacking incidents, what happened at Target. And so I see proven weaknesses in today's conventional system that are big and glaring and difficult to ignore. But as I said before, I don't know anybody that has hacked blockchain's core technology. It doesn't have those defects that we know exist in our current systems. So I don't know of a better alternative, quite frankly, for moving forward, for creating positive, disruptive change to help people be more productive, and for also enabling the world to basically move forward in a more effective manner, so that we can hand our world down to our children and say that we did something, we added something that is good for them by making the world better through blockchain.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, just to clarify, so the blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain has never been hacked, but you are right. 31% or 51% of the mining power can hack it, and in fact, they have been hacked many times. In fact, Bitcoin Gold was just hacked a few weeks ago with a double spin attack because people amassed more mining than the entire network combined. So it is only a function of how much mining power there is. They're very hackable. When you ask the question, you know, does this add another layer of complexity to the system? And I would just go back to the first point I made about decentralization and the no single point of failure. I think that's the most important point. And that was really the insight that the ARPANET had, and it's the same insight that Satoshi, whoever he is, had, that if you have a single point of failure, it's very vulnerable. With no single point of failure, it's very hard to bring down. And the internet, you can take out a piece of it, of course. You can hack people, of course, but you can't take down the internet. It's not possible. Or it'd be very, very difficult.
Yeah,
I don't want to say never. Never say never, right? But the internet is pretty resilient, and so far so good. And thanks to a lot of the people that are in this room, actually.
Yeah, I agree. So y'all talk a lot about the benefits of blockchain, and I would like to ask Casper about what do you think about the future of blockchain then? Because there's so many benefits, and people talk about the use cases, the potential. What do you think about the future?
Wow. That's a tough one. So anyway, but you know, these questions or the discussion that we have before, and okay, we can lead this to the future. I think, you know, we first discussed why use a blockchain at all instead of a centralized database, and then Raik added a question there, which was that, which is essentially the same question, but more from a security aspect. So when we choose technologies to realize applications, then does blockchain make it better or worse if we include it? And then John basically went through, you know, you guys explain the concept there. So the future of the blockchain, right, is one thing. What's more interesting to me is the future of distributed ledger technology, right? So the future of the blockchain, I guess, I mean, it has its own set of uses, which is this trust, immutability, and this. So, but from our perspective, when we chose our technology, okay, so we do the token sale and we do the financing on blockchain, Ethereum, great. But for doing asset trading, new distributed ledger technologies will be better. And IOTA is an example of these, but there are many different ones. The security question on these new technologies is not solved. And this is also one of the reasons why, for example, in WePower, we're not rushing into, we consider ourselves distributed ledger agnostic, so we can run the energy token or the energy asset data on any distributed ledger infrastructure there. We're not developing our own precisely because the security aspect there is so critical. But if we, for example, compare in the energy sector, there's a lot of similar use cases being realized by centralized institutions in centralized databases. And their capability to, first of all, realize cross-border trust and scale in these centralized applications is incredibly expensive. And the security of defending these centralized points, although it is still present people still have to trust the exchange, which is doing the transactions, but at least there is some form of immutable contract between the people who are doing it. So it's a trade-off, and I would say that I could argue for it, I could argue against it, but we're not there. It's still too early days. I would like to see a lot of the distributed ledger technologies in the wild. I would like to see the charging infrastructure on these things deployed in a large city and properly being taken advantage of by hackers who want to drive for free. So I would like to see that first. The vision that distributed ledger technologies could bring, of course, is I think the IOTA video captured a part of it, but it's just one small slice of it. But essentially, it could deliver a true peer-to-peer world if the features of these distributed ledgers are combined with usable interfaces. I think this is one of the trick also, is that Facebook was technically possible a long time ago, but it needed a usable interface. I mean, I could send messages to my friends before, but it needed a usable interface in order for it to be called something and to sort of achieve scale. So a lot of these, I think this is a main problem in crypto space in general, that anybody who's ever tried it, I think it's more complicated than normal.
Agree.
Many people think.
Agree. This gentleman here has a question.
Yeah. First, I had a couple of remarks, and then I have two questions for the panel. The first is, it is possible to take the global internet down, potentially. And I was CEO of ICANN in 2012 when Operation Global Blackout was announced by Anonymous to do exactly that by taking down all the root servers of the internet. And it was a dead serious situation and a serious 8-week crisis we had to manage. And every government of the world got behind us. Every major telco of the world got behind us. Every major tech company. It's an amazing experience. It's really never been told, but it is possible. And I have my name's Rod Beckstrom. I was CEO of ICANN. I was also head of the U.S. National Cybersecurity Center. But I'm initially actually a fintech junkie. I started my first company with Myron Scholes and Bill Sharp, the Nobel Prize winners, in derivative financial systems and risk management. But so everything's vulnerable. Bitcoin got hacked in August of 2010, and 92 billion Bitcoin appeared in a block. 92 billion Bitcoin's an interesting number.
Overflow.
Yeah. So everything's vulnerable. The blockchain is extremely resilient. And I want to say it's just so awesome to have the four of you here, because you're part of this revolution that's happening. And those of us that have been involved in internet sort of governance and architecture believe that blockchain is the most significant technological evolution related to the internet, probably since the World Wide Web in 1993.
Well, I have to say thanks for inviting us to share in this conference where most of the politicians and governments are here, so that they will understand more about what we're working on the ground.
We're all glad you're here so that we're learning. So the questions for the panel are, and I mean, I'm really fascinated with what you're doing, because I want to hear about your smart contracts. I assume you're not just doing them in Ethereum, but maybe you are, but I want to hear how you're doing smart contracts, where you see that going. I think it's super important, and so in the middle of that, because you're really doing that in legal contracts, which is fascinating. That's one thing. And the second thing is, Casper, I love the leavening that you brought to the discussion and the sobering of the reality. Because like, I love IOTA too. I'm fascinated. I'm a Bitcoin miner, by the way, and I trade in Bitcoin. But the security geeks, some of them are very concerned about IOTA and whether it's secure or not. And I don't even have enough expertise to go into it. I just know that really smart people I know are concerned. So I think it's promising but concerning. But I'd like to hear from all of you why we need new tokens. I mean, for God's sakes, the US dollar works, the euro works. Great, you've got this, DAC platform or the blockchain platform. Last time I checked, there were trillions of dollars in circulation, and you don't have to pay a fee to the US government to do transactions. So I just question the need for new currencies. And Polyswarm, by the way, of course, is doing a very similar thing to what you guys are doing, but not specifically focused on the blockchain. But why do you need a currency? And then the question for you is about smart contracts, if I may.
Okay, thank you. So probably I'll start off first. Why do we need a token for Policy Power Network? First of all, we want to rebuild this whole insurance ecosystem. To do that, we need to empower the individuals out there to be able to suggest insurance products, create the virtual pool where they are able to come, pull their friends, whoever, to come say, oh, let's buy this policy. It was only possible if, let's say, any company or group were to buy a group policy, then you are able to group all the like people with similar risk profile together to lower down the insurance premiums. With the token, that's...
I want to push back.
Yeah.
So why can't you do that with US dollars or another currency? Because, by the way, Google AdWords is microtransactions.
Yeah.
And it's a huge marketplace. So I don't understand why you need to have a different currency. You could still incentivize.
Yeah, you're right. But to do that means that every single country we need to do the conversion in terms of the currency.
Google
but we
handles
want
it.
Yeah, you're right. So that's the initial part of building the whole ecosystem, from suggesting insurance products to launching the products, doing referral. Next is to power our own blockchain. So I'll answer two questions at the same time. So currently our testnet is built on the Ethereum. And then our mainnet on Ethereum goes live in next quarter. And then our team will fork from Ethereum mainnet to have our own blockchain. Why do we want to have our own blockchain? Because we work with companies like AXA, ERGO, and Forward Insurance Company. We can't afford to have any crypto kitties incident happening where it jams the transaction. Imagine if, let's say, this person on the way to the airport, that's most of our customers' behavior. On the way to the airport, they buy a travel policy on our mobile app. Then because of the crypto kitty incident where a lot of people are transacting at the same time, the whole approval took a long, it could be half an hour, a few hours later to get approved. Therefore, we decided to have our own blockchain. To have our own blockchain, we need the token holders to be the super nodes to run and approve the transaction. And we would like to have the insurance companies to run the master nodes. And then they are the one in terms of validating the claims process, looking into if, let's say, they want to find out more about the data of their customers, they need to run the master nodes. Because these days, insurance companies, they only look at their own customers' database, and then a lot of times are still paper format. They do not have access to, like, say, demographics of, like, in say, Estonia, who are actually buying travel policy, what's the profile like. They do not have that unless they do a survey. But companies normally, we work with them for so long, okay, not that long, 2 years. We know that they don't run this kind of survey because they just very focused on just creating products and then distribute it out. So it's a very centralized model as compared to what we are building. I don't want to take up too much more time to do the panelist time, so I'll move on to, like, maybe Casper can explain about why you all need a token at WePower.
Oh, thank you. We have a token, WPR token. So we went through the thought process of why do we need a new currency. And there's a pragmatic answer, and then there's a visionary answer.
Maybe a fundraising answer?
So the pragmatic answer is very simple, and it is that the token is a means to an end problem. And what this means is that funding in general for important sectors like infrastructure in the world is broken because it is governed by the same centralized organizations. So the money in these sectors is controlled by the same centralized organizations who are the authors of the problem. So I have a problem if I want to do something that is capital intensive and long-term, like energy, then basically my only realistic way to do it today is to do a consumer internet company, sell it for millions, and then invest it into energy. So that was my path currently, right? So a token sale provides an alternative to try and do something where maybe the initial capital requirement is in the tens of millions, not in small millions, and maybe the return will come in 10 years. A windmill or a solar plant is built for a longer time, and maybe the exits aren't clear, right? So this is one of the point. Like what I really enjoy about WePower today is that we raised in the energy sense, a starter set of capital, 40 million, and that means that, but there's no vested interest at the board. We are responsible to the community, who basically, 22,000 people told us that please go and do something truly awesome globally in energy. So we don't have to, we can sort of bypass the existing vested interest mechanisms there and truly sort of try to do something visionary. So this is one aspect of it. Now the other aspect comes that when you are designing a token, when you're doing tokenomics, when you're designing your token sale, and you're designing the aspects of how will that token have value over time, then what I sort of realized there is that the aspects we're designing a new currency system. So maybe I'd push back and say, why do we need as many currencies as we have today? Why do they exist? Why don't we all use the US dollar if it's so great? No, because there's a competition among different issuers of currency on how it should be. So for me, I'd say we need more tokens, better tokens, and in the end, through competition, we will converge on global asset-backed currencies. So, we have had deeper conversations with Peter Diamandis is on our advisory board, for example, about these abundance worlds, or how do you enable economic transactions in the world